We all have our battles, but the hardest ones are often the ones we fight in silence. No one can truly see the wars waging inside your mind. Those moments when you're overwhelmed by doubt, fear, or the weight of your own emotions. The truth is, the isolation of facing these struggles alone is suffocating. You're stuck in your head, replaying the same fears, questioning your worth, and wondering if anyone even cares. The psychological toll of constantly fighting these invisible battles can drain you in ways others don't understand. It's not just the sadness or anxiety that lingers. It's the exhaustion of pretending everything's okay. You put on a mask every day, hiding the chaos within, because no one would ever understand what you're going through. Even when you're surrounded by people, you can feel completely alone. It's a lonely place to be, where you feel like your pain is invisible and no one sees how deeply it cuts. Those moments of vulnerability that you keep hidden become a quiet storm, and while you may hope for someone to step in and help, the truth is that most people are too caught up in their own lives to notice. The isolation of mental and emotional struggles makes it feel like no one truly gets the depth of what you're facing, leaving you to fight it out on your own. It's hard to admit, but the truth is, most people don't care about your struggles. In a world constantly distracted by its own noise, work, social media, entertainment, your pain is just another background hum. People might hear your silence, but they don't listen. They're too preoccupied with their own lives to notice the weight you're carrying. You could be breaking down on the inside, yet no one will rush in to save you. This is the cruel reality. Society only reacts when your pain becomes visible, when it spills over into anger or frustration. Then suddenly you're the problem. Your breakdown isn't met with empathy, but with judgment. People will label you as too much, too sensitive, or overreacting. It's as if they were waiting for you to crack just to say, "See, I knew you couldn't handle it." But in truth, it's not the anger they fear. It's the rawness of the pain behind it. There's a disconnect between the suffering you endure silently and how the world perceives it. They don't understand the weight that's been building up, and they don't care to. To them, it's just another inconvenience. But here's the hardest part to swallow. You're on your own in this. Your pain is yours alone, and while others might offer sympathy, few will ever truly understand what it feels like to carry that burden. When you've been quietly carrying pain for so long, it's only a matter of time before it transforms into something else. Pain, when held in for too long, often turns to anger. It's like the pressure inside builds up until it has nowhere else to go but out. Anger isn't always a choice. It's a reaction to being pushed past your limit, to feeling like you've been ignored, invalidated, or even betrayed by the world around you. For some, anger feels like the only way to feel alive, to push back against the overwhelming sense of powerlessness. It's raw, it's real, and it's a response to prolonged suffering that's been left unchecked. You've held everything inside, hoping it would get better, but when nothing changes, anger becomes your voice. However, this transformation comes with consequences. Once your pain bursts into anger, you're no longer the quiet sufferer. You're the problem. People see the outburst, but not the years of silent struggle that led to it. They don't see the breaking point. Instead, they label you, judge you, and turn away. No one understands that your anger isn't a sign of weakness. It's a cry for help that's been ignored for too long. And yet, no one stops to ask why you're angry. They just see the fire and step back in fear. When your pain finally breaks through and turns into an emotional outburst, society doesn't offer understanding. It offers judgment. There's a stigma attached to anyone who shows their vulnerability too openly. Emotional breakdowns are seen as weakness, as instability, as something to fear. The moment you react to the weight of your struggles, you're labeled the villain. People don't ask why you're angry or upset. They just see the explosion of emotion and immediately distance themselves. The worst part is that no one seems interested in understanding the root of your pain. They don't want to know how long you've been suffering or what brought you to that breaking point. All they care about is how your breakdown inconveniences them. They'll remember the outburst, but forget the silent battles you fought alone. It doesn't matter how much you've been holding in. They're only focused on how you've disrupted their world. This label, this judgment, can shape how you see yourself. You begin to internalize the idea that you're too much, that your pain makes you dangerous or unpredictable. Over time, this self-image can affect your relationships. You may start to feel like you have to keep everything bottled up, afraid of being seen as the villain again. And the longer you stay silent, the more you risk losing yourself to the label others have placed on you. Anger doesn't have to be your enemy. It can be your greatest ally. When you've felt pain for so long, anger becomes a natural response. But rather than seeing it as a weakness or something to suppress, what if you could reframe it as a source of strength? Anger, when channeled correctly, can drive you to take action, to change the things that have been holding you back, and to stand up for yourself in ways you never thought possible. The real power comes from owning your emotions, from accepting that anger is a part of you and learning to use it, not let it use you. It's about taking that fire inside and turning it into fuel for change, whether it's in your personal growth, in standing up for what you believe in, or in pursuing the life you want. When you own your anger, you stop letting it control you. Instead, you control it. But harnessing anger doesn't mean lashing out impulsively. It's about learning to direct that energy productively through creative outlets, physical challenges, or pushing yourself toward your goals. By acknowledging your anger, understanding its roots, and using it to drive positive change, you take back control of your life, and the fire that once threatened to consume you becomes the very thing that propels you forward.